cold, snow, and yes, even tornadoes. Winter in Middle Tennessee can produce a wide range of weather. Tonight, we'll explore what's known as our secondary severe weather season in the fall and winter months, why it happens, and how you can prepare for the next storm. And how much snow could we get this year? Get ready for the Code Red Winter Outlook. All ahead in the Fox 17 News Code Red Winter Weather Special. 100 people move to Nashville every single day, from coast to coast and in between. More people are choosing Nashville and Middle Tennessee to call their home. If you're a new resident, the next 30 minutes is tailored just for you.
Our weather can be tricky, especially in the winter months, from snow and ice to severe weather and tornadoes. We can see just about anything in any given year.
Our goal is to give you that information before the storms arrive so you can prepare and stay safe.
We begin tonight with the deadly December outbreak of last year. We're quickly approaching the one-year anniversary, so meteorologist Brett Luna revisits with a family directly impacted by the storm in Clarksville.
Tornado on the ground right in front of us. Clarksville, you guys need to be in your shelter.
December 9th, 2023, a tornado outbreak just 2 weeks before Christmas, 7 tornadoes ripping through Middle Tennessee and southern Kentucky. At 1:41 p.m., the second tornado of the day touches down. It'll end up being the strongest. The Clarksville area gets rocked by an EF3 tornado with winds of 150 miles per hour. The National Weather Service in Nashville, I was just seeing them talking. It sounds like they are drawing up another tornado warning, and there it goes.
They just popped up on our radar computer, so we'll see the timing on this.
Oh, look at it! Look at it! Look at it! Oh my God! Oh, go downstairs! Go downstairs! Go downstairs!
That was a scene from inside Caitlin Ward's home. Her family was watching our severe weather coverage. Once they saw the new tornado warning get issued, they looked outside and saw the tornado. They immediately ran to the basement. This tornado was 600 yards wide and on the ground for more than an hour. It remained on the ground for almost 48 miles, continuing up into southern Kentucky. Nearly 1,000 homes were impacted, 114 were destroyed, 268 suffered major damage. Not far from the Ward's home, the McKnight's home, suffering significant damage. Darby McKnight was at home alone that day with her 10-month-old daughter.
You don't necessarily hear glass breaking. The noise was just so overwhelming. The whole time, I literally was just on him crying and thinking, like, I am about to die. Me and my child are about to die. Thankfully, it's like I just had that thought of, like, about to go to heaven. Like, just that was my thought process.
Stephen McKnight had just gotten back from a 9-month-long deployment earlier that year, and of all days, this was the first one that he was away from home since he got back.
Being on the phone with her, and we were on the phone the whole time. I couldn't hear anything through the phone just besides her, telling me what was happening, what she was hearing, her crying, and it was just devastating. You never know when these things are going to happen. And you never think they're going to happen to you until they do. You got to listen to the news, what they're telling you. They're not making it up for their enjoyment. What they're talking about is actually happening, so you need to take it seriously. And Darby has always said, from now on, we'll always get a house with a crawl space or a basement.
This tornado injured 62 people, 4 people died. The second strongest tornado, and the 6th of the day, tore through Madison, Hendersonville, and up into Gallatin, an EF2 with winds of 130 miles per hour. It prompted the National Weather Service in Nashville to issue its first tornado emergency in more than a decade. This tornado was 600 yards wide and remained on the ground for more than 35 miles. About 600 homes and businesses were damaged in Sumner County. 22 people were injured, 3 people died. In total that day, there were 2 EF1 tornadoes, 4 EF2s, and 1 EF3. I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Brett Luna.
Having multiple ways to get alerts during severe weather events is so important. And one of those ways that you can get those alerts is with the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather app. It's a great tool, sends alerts during severe weather. It also gives you daily and hourly forecasts. Think of it like having a Fox 17 meteorologist in your pocket at all hours of the day. But most importantly, we open up the app here. You can see current conditions, hourly forecasts. The biggest tool that I love about this is the interactive radar. It's interactive in that you can zoom in, you can zoom out, and you can actually customize it to the way you want it, to your liking. We've got some light showers just to our west, you can see here, but I'm going to zoom out a little more and check out some of these showers in West Tennessee, getting ready to push into West Tennessee. These are storm tracks that you see on the line of showers. So if you push on one of those, it'll give you information about the storm. how fast it's moving, whether it has hail, if it's rotating. So these are all great tools to have within the radar. And of course, along with that, you click on the 3 buttons here, you can get alerts, and you can customize these as well. Tornado and severe weather alerts, tropical alerts, winter alerts, you name it, we have it. And you can turn them off or turn them on however you like. But this is one of the most important tools that you need to have when it comes to severe weather. Of course, we get severe weather all hours of the day, and this is one way that you can stay safe and prepared.
Not just snow and ice you need to worry about this winter, why severe storms are a real threat.
Fox 17 News, your code red weather station. Alerts, empowers, protects.
Typically in the winter months, we are not thinking about tornadoes. We have our minds set on the colder weather and yes, snowy weather as well. But unfortunately here in Tennessee, severe weather can happen any time of year. And even in the most recent years, we have started to see more severe weather activity, especially in the month of December. Winter severe weather events are increasing, and that does include our tornado events during the winter months. And unfortunately, where we have those events, they can result usually in large outbreaks for us. And another unfortunate fact about La Nina years, they can often lead to an early start to severe weather season. And where we do have the potential for severe weather, we can have that potential for a large outbreak. A lot of this, of course, is due to the fact that we are finding more warm days during the winter months. This is a look back at the last 40 years in Nashville, and you can see a large rise in temperatures here, an average of 15 days more above average throughout the winter months, December into January and February and so forth. So when we talk about our tornado season, of course, traditionally we have those months in the spring where we have a big jump in number of tornadoes. This is in a complete list of tornadoes in Middle Tennessee since we began record keeping back in the early 1800s. But what you may not understand or realize is that we have a secondary severe weather season that pops up as we go into November, December, into January and February. So that is one more thing that we will need to be watching out for and be prepared for as we head through the winter months.
La Nina impacting severe and winter weather, what we could see over the next few months.
Fox 17 News, your code red weather station. Alerts, empowers, protects.
I'm sure you've heard these terms before, El Nino and La Nina. But what do they mean? Well, they are climate patterns in the Pacific Ocean that can greatly influence our weather worldwide. And in the winter months, we can often use these patterns to help us figure out what we may or may not see during the cold months of the year. With El Nino, we have trade winds that are a lot weaker in the Pacific. That in turn creates warmer waters. The opposite is true for La Nina. Trade winds in the Pacific are a lot stronger, and that causes cooler waters to prevail. So let's talk a little bit more about what La Nina is and what it means for us when it comes to winter weather forecasting here in the United States. Now, La Nina, remember, means cooler water temperatures. That's due to the fact that we have stronger trade winds. So these trade winds over the Pacific Ocean are able to pull up colder water from beneath the surface. We call that upwelling. So we tend to have more upwelling in the Pacific, which causes the cooler ocean water at the surface. That actually plays a role not only in our winter patterns, but in the hurricane patterns as well. In the Pacific, it brings more wind shear with less hurricane activity. In the Atlantic and Caribbean, the opposite is true. Less wind shear, which equals more hurricane activity. And we are coming off of a very active hurricane season, very typical of La Nina. So what does this mean for us? Let's take a look at our pattern and jet stream. The cooler waters in the Pacific do actually end up playing a role here with our jet stream. Jet stream here is a little bit farther north, and that brings warmer than average conditions as far as temperatures are concerned across a lot of the southern states here. It does include much of Tennessee. That cooler than average conditions or temperatures tend to be to our north and to our west. What does it mean as far as precipitation is concerned? Well, we are sort of on this edge here. We can sometimes be wetter than normal. The drier than normal conditions tend to be to our south and stretch all the way to the west coast. But I would say Tennessee can be either way, really, with precipitation in a La Nina pattern. So locally, what does it mean for us with our severe weather outlook? Unfortunately, with La Nina years, we can't rule out severe weather outbreaks during the winter months. And not only that, the potential for large tornado outbreaks exist as well. Not only that, but typically with the La Nina pattern, we can often expect an early start to our spring severe weather season. Hopefully, we will remain as quiet as possible, but these are some of the things that are indicative of a La Nina winter with severe weather here in Tennessee. On the other hand, our winter weather effects, generally a warmer winter prevails. Doesn't mean that's the case every time, but it is possible that we see warmer temperatures on average throughout the winter. But that doesn't mean that we can't have bouts of winter weather. We can still have cold snaps, and we can still have snow events. But you want to keep in mind that every winter is different. So even though we may have had very little snow and warm winters with a La Nina in the past, may not be true this time around, especially given the fact that we're in a weak La Nina this year. So no matter what this weak La Nina may bring to Middle Tennessee this upcoming winter, the Fox 17 News studio is always active during a Fox 17 News Code Red weather alert. But winter weather can be difficult to forecast here in the mid-state. To talk more about why that is, here's meteorologist Greg Bovis.
December weather can be very tricky here for several reasons. I want to look at the atmosphere first, from top to bottom like a cake. Sometimes you have layers, sometimes you got all one flavor. Well, let's talk about rain. Rain starts off with, we have the clouds, which snow. Typically, we have frozen precipitation that begins to fall. All the air below it getting down to the ground level for the most part is well above freezing. So we get that rain. Think spring, summer, fall. The majority of that main layer of cake is going to be very warm, so we end up just getting typical rain. Snow, kind of the vice versa of that, where we have cold from top to bottom. Snow starts to fall, does not get warm all the way toward the ground. Ground level is cold, you get snow. Those two are easy. If you have temperatures that are cold enough, we know we're going to get one. If they're warm enough, we know we're going to get another. But when temperatures are hovering right near freezing, at some point in the atmosphere, we start getting different layers of cake. We start off with the cold. This is going to be freezing rain. This is the interesting one here because people think freezing rain and sleet. It's hard to kind of comprehend the two. Freezing rain starts off as snow, melts coming down into the atmosphere. So that's our first layer of the cake right there. But then down toward the ground level, the ground itself is very, very cold. Think about when you have 1 or 2 weeks of super cold weather down below 32 degrees and you get that 1 or 2 warm days where the rain comes down and you get the sheet of ice, and we get a lot of ice storms here. That's because the ground has been super cooled for days before it. The liquid freezes on contact. Sleet is different. Again, layers of the atmosphere. We start off very cold, we get warm, we melt, but then the air above the ground, not the ground itself, the air above the ground is cold enough to refreeze that rain as it comes down, and that's where you get the little sleet pellets that come down to the ground. Now, why am I saying all this here for the Nashville viewing area? Well, let's compare. Nashville's coldest average high temperature is 28 degrees. Clarksville's average coldest high temperature, 26 degrees. Not that far off, but a degree or two goes a long way when it comes to how thick those layers of the atmosphere are going to be when it comes to warm and cold. Elevation, how tall is the cake? We take a look here, Nashville 500, roughly 600 feet above sea level. Crossville, almost 1,900 feet, so you condense that cake. You get a lot of a chance to have much more cold air the higher up you go. That's why sometimes we'll see rain in Nashville, and just a couple miles away in the plateau, we can get an ice storm or even snow. Watching those temperatures and those layers of the atmosphere, it's very important this time of the year.
So now you know how difficult it can be to forecast winter weather here in Middle Tennessee. Let's talk about our winter last year, what we ended up with. If you can recall, it was a generally mild winter. Of course, we had our big event in January. This was actually the one big winter event that we had, and that is where we picked up all of our snow. above average, of course, for last season. So we had that big snow and cold in the middle of January that received all of our snow for the season in this one event. We had a couple other very tiny events or trace reports of snow, but for the entire season of last year, we had 7.6 inches of snow, and we picked it all up in that one event in January with the Arctic cold that followed. So it stuck around for a couple of days, if you recall. As we take a look back at the last 10 years, you can see that we have a variety of snow totals. So this is the snow totals over the past 10 years. And you can see we've had some big ones back in 2015, 2016, if you remember, over 11 inches of snow. And then another one just a few years back in the 2021-22 season, 9.5, and then 7.6 was last year. The little red caret indicates a weak La Nina year, and we've had one of those in the last 10, which only happened to be around 2 inches of snow for the entire season, 2016 to 2017. Doesn't mean that we will have no snow or a lot of snow this year, but just kind of an indication of what we had in the past with the same type of pattern setup that we have going on as we head into this winter season. So will that hold? We'll have a look at my winter outlook. What I'm thinking may happen as we get into December, January, and February. That's coming up shortly. Stay with us.
Understanding what you can expect this winter, your chances of snow.
Fox 17 News, your code red weather station. Alerts, empowers, protects.
Welcome back. It's that time. We're talking about our winter outlook. How cold is it going to be this winter? How much snow are we going to see? The ever so popular question. So let's talk about it. First, I want to say, how much snow do we find on average? We do have an average. It's around 4.7 inches. And that's over the last 30 years. That average snowfall actually has come down a little bit from the 30 years prior to that. So 4.7 inches is what we would find typically any winter. Now, what we can expect this winter, let's take a look. Number one, I do think we are looking at relatively mild conditions for the winter, slightly above average conditions as far as temperatures go. Doesn't mean that we won't have cold snaps. We should have those. But generally, when you average the temperature out over the next 3 months, it does look like we may be slightly above average as La Nina tends to favor a warmer winter. Number two, I do think we are looking at a couple light snow events that could be possible for us. Maybe not as much snow as what we had in January of 24, but a couple light snow events do appear possible in weak La Nina years. And number three, I think we are going to be looking at the potential for some snow earlier in the season. Again, not a big snow, but perhaps maybe into December and early January. Typically, our snows are more January, February, and even into March sometimes. But this year, I think we could see some snow showers and maybe a light snow event before the end of this year. Grand total, 3 to 6 inches of snow appear possible for us, which is right around, if not slightly above average as far as our snow totals go. Will we see that much? Only time will tell.
Making sure your entire family is on the same page. The weather discussion you need to have before severe weather strikes.
Fox 17 News, your code red weather station. Alerts, empowers, protects.
Before you see winter weather conditions like ice, snow, extreme cold, watch Fox 17 News Code Red Weather.
Typically, we start to say goodbye to you soon, but stay. We're going to give you an extra hour of coverage.
This is the wind chill warning, and this is the watch here that's in effect.
Our Code Red Weather team tracks the next weather pattern, alerting and informing you so you can be ready, so you can be prepared in advance. Fox 17 News Code Red Weather alerts, empowers, protects.
We hope you enjoyed the Fox 17 Code Red Winter Weather Special. It's our goal to empower you with the knowledge of the wide range of Middle Tennessee weather. We hope you learned something.
And if you haven't already, please take a moment to download our free Fox 17 Code Red Weather app. You can just scan that QR code on your screen.
Make sure you review your severe weather safety plan with your family and have multiple ways to get alerts when severe weather threatens. Thank you so much for joining the Fox 17 Code Red Weather Team. Alerts, empowers, protects.